You're muted, Maria.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for becoming part of this very important discussion that we're going to have today. First of all, I would like to have a few words from our global coordinator, Roman Vega.
Muchas gracias, María y Hani.
Thank you so much, Maria and Hani. We have, as a movement for the health of peoples, we have organized this meeting, this emergency meeting, in solidarity with the struggle of the Palestine people. We consider that all the peoples of the world must agree a tragedy is occurring with a military offensive from the part of Israel against the people of Palestine. So right now, solidarity in the world has to be on the side of men, women, and children who, for a long time in history, have been battling and struggling for a free Palestine. I think free Palestine is more current now than ever, because we can see how they are indiscriminately shelling Gaza and discriminating the Palestine people living in that territory. And they are encouraging them to evacuate against their will in a process we all know will have tragic consequences, tragic humanitarian consequences, not only for the Palestinian people, but also for the human being. It will be an absolutely negative precedent for freedom, autonomy, independence, the struggle for the emancipation of peoples, if we accept that a procedure of military attack against the Palestinian people is produced as is happening right now. The movement for the health of people is in solidarity with the struggles of the Palestine people, and we condemn the atrocities that are being carried out currently. We reject the military solution to the historical conflict, and we urge the peoples of the world to unite, to stand, and to express themselves in the streets with solidarity with the struggles of the Palestinian people. And particularly, we urge for respect, health, and the maintenance of facilities, hospitals, and medical staff to protect the lives of all Palestinians. That is our commitment. And we are here to find ways in which we can unite in solidarity, real, material, concrete solidarity with the struggles of the Palestinian people. That is the objective of our meeting, and we are wholeheartedly thankful for those who have joined the meeting. We wish you a good day to all Latin Americans that are joining right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the other peoples participating in the meeting. We will have a moderator, Maria Hamlin, and at the end, the closing address will be by Hani Seraga. Welcome, dear partners, to participate in this historical moment to support the struggles of the Palestinian people.
Gracias, Roman. Thank you, Roman. Now, I would like to say a few words before we begin the panel discussion with our friend Dr. Mustafa Bogarte and Sasha Ode. When we founded the People's Health Movement in Bangladesh in the year 2000, we produced a document that's our manifesto, we could say, and it's called the Declaration of Bangladesh, the Declaration of the People's Health Charter. And so in People's Health Charter, there is a whole chapter dedicated to war, conflict, and occupation. That was produced in the year 2000. And from that time on, we have tried to show our solidarity, especially with Palestine as an occupied territory, but also other territories occupied in other parts of the world. So I just wanted to remind people to go back and look at the People's Health Charter and read that chapter and see that since the year 2000, we've been concerned with this issue. Also, we have a thematic group in the People's Health Movement that deals with war, conflict, and occupation, and also migration. And that's why I'm moderating this, because I'm one of the facilitators of that particular group. So I do have a question. Where is Shata? I don't see her. Honey?
She's on the list. She's not in the panelist list yet. So
Okay.
maybe Dr. Mustafa will start and
Yes, please.
yes,
Okay.
we'll try with her. Thank you.
So I would like to introduce Dr. Mustafa Bugarti. He's a physician, an activist, and a politician who serves as the General Secretary of the Palestinian National Initiative. But I would like to say more, because since the year 1990, we have worked closely together with Palestinians, particularly con Mustafa and his comrades in the medical relief committees, as they were called at that time. So Mustafa is an old friend, and I consider him to be one of the important founders of the People's Health Movement. So Mustafa, I want to turn this over to you so you can share with us, please.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Is the sound clear?
Very good.
Hello? Very good. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for arranging this meeting. I might not be able to stay with you for the whole meeting because we're so busy here. But thank you, Maria. It's very nice to see you and Hani and all the other friends. I would like to emphasize that I'm speaking here not as only a political person, but also as the president of the Palestinian Medical Relief Society, which is at the moment, Medical Relief is coordinating the work of no less than 150 NGOs in Palestine in PINGO, Palestinian NGO Network. And I want to say that it is very, very important to immediately engage in every possible way in every country you are in an immediate act to stop the crime, the huge crime that is committed at this very moment in Palestine. And let me explain, this is the sixth war that Israel conducts on Gaza, but it's not like any other war before. I myself was in Gaza during 2012 war, and I was in Gaza during the war in 2014. But from what my colleagues tell me now, the devastation, the crimes that are committed are just beyond description. Israel has declared already that it has thrown no less than 5,000 tons of explosives on the people of Gaza. For many of you, it's very important to understand that Gaza is the most densely populated area in the world, with 2.3 million people living in less than 140 square miles or 360 square kilometers. And 25% of that area is already forbidden for Palestinians because Israel considers it a no-go zone. This is the largest open prison in the world because it has been put under total military siege since 2006. And the Israelis are controlling the sea, the airspace, the electromagnetic space, and the borders. with the exception of one small passage to Egypt, which they also have certain kind of influence on who goes in and who gets out. Since last Saturday, Israel launched an attack on Gaza after Hamas conducted an attack on military installations around Gaza, during which attack some Israeli civilians also were killed. But Israel is conducting a war that is unprecedented, bombarding every inch of Gaza. As our colleagues are telling us, there is no place in Gaza that you can consider safe. Practically, what is happening now in Gaza is the combination of three processes. The first one is complete and total siege, where Israel declared that it is preventing water, electricity, energy supplies like fuel, food, and medicines from entering Gaza, putting people at the risk of starvation and at the risk of dying because of lack of medical care and medical equipment and medical services and medicines. We received panic calls from patients with kidney diseases who do not have access to kidney dialysis. The hospitals are incapable of dealing with the amount of injuries and deaths that they are dealing with. And there is no supply whatsoever of any of the material that I told you about. Not only that, Israel declared that they will bombard any convoy of humanitarian assistance that will try to get to Gaza through Egypt. And they translated that promise into an act of destruction of big parts of the passage to Egypt by bombarding it. So the first problem is this total and complete siege on Gaza. The second process is the indiscriminate and savagery attacks with airstrikes and now the artillery attacks, and they are now preparing a ground invasion with tanks into Gaza. Practically, what is happening in Gaza is nothing but an act of genocide. And so far, up till this very moment, we have lost 2,217 people killed, including about 700 children and hundreds of women. 8,700 people were injured only in these few days. And in addition to the bombardment and the efforts to practically create an act of genocide, Israel declared that they want to evict the people of Gaza from Gaza into Egypt. Netanyahu, this war criminal, announced in the very second day of this operation that all Gazans must leave their homes, evict their homes. He didn't say where to. But the military spokesperson, his military spokesperson, said in what became a main title in Israeli newspapers that all Palestinians in Gaza, the 2.3 million people, have to evict their homes and go to Egypt. They want to ethnically cleanse Gaza completely. And they started by bombarding everywhere, but also by giving an ultimatum to 1.1 million people living in the north, in Jabalia camp, in Beit Hanun, in Gaza City itself, to move down to the south of Gaza. And many of them started to do so afraid for their lives because of the bombardment. And some of them, while they were trying to walk to the south, were yesterday bombarded by the Israeli airstrikes. In one strike alone, they killed 60 civilians, 60 people, and injured 300. So there is no safe space and no safe place. In addition to that, Israel is using, again, like they did in 2008, prohibited military equipment and prohibited weapons, in particular white phosphorus, which has caused before many serious cases of cancer, and it is now causing terrible burns, suffocation of people. I mean, it was reported to me by some of our colleagues in Gaza how many patients who were exposed to it suffered from very severe respiratory conditions. So they are using prohibited weapons as well, and they are trying to force people out. The 1.1 million people who are now forced to move down to the south are creating a very huge humanitarian crisis, because these people are clustering with others in very small spaces in Gaza, without food, without water, without sanitary facilities. And this would lead, of course, not only to severe problems for people who have low immunity, or people with cancer, or people who are suffering from heart disease and other diseases. This will lead to epidemics. Because as you know, if sanitary facilities are not there, and if Israel has destroyed the pipelines and the sewage systems, there is every possibility that we could see epidemics rising up immediately. We are also starting to witness a possibility of serious increase in maternal and infant mortality rate because of the terrible conditions in which women have to give birth and the terrible conditions that children are subjected to. I would like to add to that the psychosocial impact of all this terrible situation is beyond description. Every person in Gaza, of the 2.3 million people, is now frightened. Every person there is in shock. And the impact on the psychology of children is beyond description as well. When they hear all these planes attacking and the bombardment, and when so many children see their brothers and sisters and neighbors dying by Israeli airstrikes, the result can be devastating from a psychosocial point of view. But the more important thing that in addition to Israeli strikes, the Israeli army is now sending ultimatums to hospitals to evict and evacuate. And one of these hospitals that were told to evacuate, two of them actually, Udwan Hospital and Al-Auda Hospital in the north, are refusing to leave, but they are risking their lives. And they refuse to leave because they cannot leave the injured people on the ground. They cannot transport them. They would subject them to death if they try to carry them out of these hospitals. They cannot move many old people who cannot, I mean, there is no transportation facilities even. The roads are blocked. The roads are destroyed. Our medical teams in medical relief are finding great difficulty getting to clinics and getting to the stations where they should be working, or getting to the UNRWA schools where 450,000 people are trying to take refuge there, because the roads are destroyed, and because each trip you make from one spot to another in Gaza is a risk of death, since each car that is moving could be shot at or destroyed by Israeli airstrikes. Already 10 of our colleagues, first aid providers, have been killed by these airstrikes. 5 ambulances were also hit with bombs from Israeli planes. And no less than 11 journalists already have died. And by the way, a lot of what's happening is not reported because foreign media is not there. Israel did not allow them to go there. And so luckily we have some local Arab media and regional media, but the international media is in Ramallah and in the West Bank. They are not in Gaza. And that is one thing that Israel is trying to abuse and use. I want also to say that all these crimes are happening. I mean, I cannot describe everything to you because that will need 24 hours. But the devastation is beyond description. The risks at people's life, at children's life, and at patients' life is also very high. But the main problem we are subjected to since the beginning of this war is this act of dehumanization of Palestinians. This is an act in which not only Israel is engaging, but also the United States and most Western governments, dehumanizing Palestinians, claiming that Israel is the victim. Although everybody knows that the root cause of what we see and of all the wars we have seen is the fact that Israel has conducted ethnic cleansing against 70% of the Palestinian people back in 1948, and the fact that Israel is occupying Palestinian West Bank and Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Syrian Heights since 2000, since 1967, 56 years of occupation. And everybody knows that this occupation, as Amnesty International said, and Human Rights Watch said, has transformed into a system of apartheid. This is the reality of today. Netanyahu is a very dangerous man. His government includes fascists like Smotrich and Ben Gvir. Smotrich, the finance minister, the second most important minister in his government, or the third, said that we will fill the West Bank with settlements and settlers so that Palestinians would lose any hope of having a state of their own, and then they will have one of three choices: either to leave or accept a life of subjugation to Israelis or die. This is the statement of a finance minister of Israel, which was never negated by Netanyahu, and who didn't shy away from calling himself a fascist homophobe. This is the kind of people we are dealing with. But the United States and Western governments are now taking the side of Israel in an unbelievable way. They repeat the lies that Netanyahu spreads. Lies like Palestinian resistance decapitated children's heads, or that Palestinians raped women. Every day, one of these lies gets exposed. Yesterday, the CNN reporter apologized publicly for using this term, decapitating heads of children, which was never proven, and it was a big lie by Netanyahu, which was repeated by the president of the United States of America. I don't know how this person can be such an irresponsible and making such an unhonorable statements without even checking them. Blinken, his foreign minister, is repeating the same black propaganda. Los Angeles Times, the day before yesterday, published another apology. They said, we are apologizing for stating that Palestinians raped Israeli women. This proved to be untrue, and so on and so forth. But after the damage is done, who can repair it? That is what we are subjected to. Ethnic cleansing, terrible siege, acts of genocide, and we are accused of being the aggressors at the same time. This is very, very dangerous situation. Also in the West Bank is not calm. By the way, one of the main reasons why the attack happened in Gaza from the Palestinian side was that during the last 8 months, Israeli troops and Israeli settlers conducted a campaign of terror on Palestinians, which led to killing no less than 248 Palestinians, including 40 children, one of whom I know his family. He was only 2.5 years baby, child, whose father was shot, and he was shot with 6 bullets. And then the army said it was a mistake. Nobody was indicted, nobody was investigated. But in addition to that, the settlers have been attacking Christian and Muslim holy sites. They've been attacking Christian and Muslim prayers. They've been trying to change facts on the ground. And most important, Netanyahu appeared in the United Nations 3 weeks ago, carrying a map of Israel, that includes the total annexation of the West Bank, the annexation of Gaza Strip as well, and of course Jerusalem and the Syrian Golan Heights. In the United Nations, in the General Assembly, in front of the world's nations' leaders, nobody criticized him except one government, Germany, for doing that. And now they are also attacking Palestinians. To add insult to injury, this siege on Gaza is nothing but an act of collective punishment, exactly what Human Rights Watch described as war crime, and what Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, described as a violation of international law. But this act of collective punishment is now becoming worse, because many European governments have declared that they are cutting aid from Palestinians, including Germany, Sweden. European Union did it and then detracted it, and it's not clear what they will do. But imagine, the victim is being punished by the world community, a victim that is suffering now from the potential of total ethnic cleansing. In my opinion, if Netanyahu manages to do what he wants, and we are standing up to him with every possible kind of resistance, but if he manages to do what he wants, he will clean up Gaza completely, cleanse it completely, level it down to earth, and then he will not let any Palestinian come back to their homes, and he will annex it to Israel. Please record what I am saying to you, because this is exactly the Israeli plan that Netanyahu is trying to conduct. Few words also about West Bank. Not only that we had up till now 51 Palestinians killed in the last week by Israelis, in addition to the 248 that I mentioned before. In addition to that, Israel blocked most passages. West Bank is now cut in 224 small ghettos. There are 640 military checkpoints that are preventing freedom of movement. The north is cut from the middle, and the middle is cut from the south. And Israel has declared the area also as a closed military zone. And we are witnessing great risk because settlers are attacking civilian Palestinians who have nobody to protect them. I'm talking about the West Bank. And just 3 days ago, in a small village called Kusra in Nablus area, settlers terrorized the people and shot to death 3 of them. And then the army came and shot a 4th one. And the next day, during the funeral of these 4 people, the settlers attacked again and killed 2 more people, a father and a son. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that every Palestinian in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, in Gaza, and even inside 1948 areas, does not have any way of protecting ourselves. It's a very dangerous moment. We demand and ask and request you to immediately make an immediate declaration condemning all these Israeli acts. And we ask you to help us spreading the word about everything that is happening here, and to specifically mention that there should be, that we all reject and refuse this process of dehumanization of Palestinians in which Americans and Israelis are engaging. And second, that the blockade on Gaza should be immediately lifted and humanitarian assistance should be sent, that a ceasefire must be declared immediately, and that the act of ethnic cleansing should not be allowed to happen by forcing Palestinians with bombardment to go to Egypt. The medical aspect and the humanitarian aspect of this crisis is beyond description and beyond belief. And we thank all of you. We know that you are all on our sides. We thank the People's Health Movement for its continuous good work. But now this is the time for solidarity with Palestine. This is the time where we need you, where we need every support that can be given to our medical and health workers in every possible way. In West Bank, but mostly in Gaza, as well as in all parts of Palestine. Thank you so much. And if you have any question, I will be very glad to answer you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. It's really distressing to hear what is happening to your people, who are our people. We're all human beings and we have to act that way. Shata is not here, and so I want to open the opportunity for others who are on this panel to speak. And you can raise your hand. I see that, yes. Lai, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Hani. Thank you, People's Health Movement, for always standing on the right side of history when it comes to Palestine and other issues. There's little to add to what Dr. Mustafa just outlined. I maybe just want to add a couple more things. The first of which is adding to the context of what's going on in the West Bank, and which is a direct result of what the aggression that has been taking place. As you might know, there are around, estimates vary, but somewhere between 13 and 19,000 workers from Gaza who cross over into 1948 occupied Palestine to work using, with the aid of Israeli permits to enter and work. And that is obviously, when we think about the larger context of settler colonialism, which stems from global capitalism, the exploitation of workers from the colonized population is a common tactic, and that is exactly what these people undergo, and that is why they work under the mercy of Israel due to the horrendous economic situation that is enforced in Gaza, and they are often used as bargaining chips because they often have higher wages, which they take back to Gaza to support their families. Now, on Saturday, these tens of thousands of workers ended up being stuck and unable to go back to Gaza. What Israel did a couple of days later was they revoked every single permit issued to anyone from Gaza, which under Israel's military laws meant that they were in violation of their inability to cross without a permit. These people were then having to hide or run away. So if they had Palestinians who were employing them, the Palestinians were often taking a great risk at sheltering them from settlers who were then coming after them and wanting to take them as hostages, or from the Israeli military, which was rounding them up and arresting them. Several thousand of them made their way to initially Ramallah and Nablus. They are now spread a bit more widely. And I've been volunteering at some of the centers which are hosting these people in horrendous, overcrowded conditions, because not only is it Israel's actions that are violent, we of course know that the Palestinian Authority is in direct complicity with the Israeli military and with the Israeli state at subjugating our people. And they failed to provide any adequate facilities for these workers who escaped death. I will share just a couple of stories from the experiences of these workers, just very briefly, just to illustrate the kind of pain that has been inflicted on them. There was one worker I was asked to see yesterday morning at one of the centers hosting, at the time, 500 workers, while having a capacity for 150, so an extremely overcrowded facility, who, as I was told, had a hand injury. Now, the place we were at was in no fit state to treat injuries, and the agreement was that we would send any injuries to the emergency department. But I sensed that something was not completely normal within this abnormal situation about this case and agreed to go and see this injured person. It had turned out that this person had been stabbed 3 days before I saw him. He's not sure whether it was from a settler or a soldier, but it was at the time of his arrest. He was arrested, and then he was tortured, essentially, held in extremely uncomfortable positions with handcuffs on for 3 days, with an open wound on his hand. Luckily, his hand wound was not infected, but he, to my disbelief, insisted that his hand was in absolutely no pain. But he was crying his eyes out at the fact that that morning, the morning he was released and dropped off at one of the checkpoints blocking Jerusalem from Ramallah, he had found out that his wife and his kids had been killed in bombardment in Gaza. This is the story of this man who is now stuck in the West Bank. No bodies to bury, no mourning to be received, no solidarity from his neighbors or friends, and with no prospect of being able to go back to his home anytime soon. This is a situation that we are seeing over and over and over and over again. There are over 2,000 people who are in Ramallah, over 1,000 people who are in Nablus, and several thousand elsewhere in the West Bank. It's extremely distressing, and every single official and non-official channel is neglecting its responsibility to these workers in the same way that they are neglecting their responsibilities to Palestinians everywhere. So that is just something I wanted to highlight quickly, just this issue of these workers who are stuck from Gaza, either in Israeli prisons or in detention centers, or who are still on the run, or who are in the West Bank, or who are missing, and we have no idea where they are and what's happened to them, who are completely cut off from their people, who are completely cut off from their families, limited ability to phone in and see how their families are doing. What I'll add to the general context, which has already been outlined, is just one thing and then something that follows from it. So we often talk about crimes against international law.
Solemos hablar de crímenes contra el derecho internacional cuando hablamos de Palestina, y son muchos los crímenes, son ubicuos. Sin embargo, hay
which is not outlawed in international law, and that is that of colonialism. There is no law in the International Criminal Court or International Court of Justice that specifically would hold anyone culpable for the crime of colonialism. That is something that people reject, the people who have been colonized in the past reject, but that is not actually a crime that is enshrined in international law. And that is the thing that we must always recognize. And we are a people's health movement. And the people are the ones that must set what is a moral crime, even if it's not a legal crime. And so from that, what I would follow on with is that the people's health movement must reiterate the importance of recognizing settler colonialism as the root cause of Palestinian suffering. And from that follows that it is not international courts that will deliver justice. It is not the international community in, with a capital I and a capital C that will bring justice to Palestinians. It is the will of the people. And therefore, the last thing I will emphasize and demand of the people, of the world, of the People's Health Movement, of whoever, is to unequivocally support Palestinians' rights and duty to resist colonialism and to join that, whether it's through words or whether it's by taking power out of the economic and cultural and academic institutions that uphold colonialism. And so by boycotting any relations with Israeli institutions, by unequivocally being anti-colonial in our work, not just against international law crimes. So thank you so much again for hosting. I hope I haven't taken too long to make these couple of points and hope to see action coming forward from PHM, which I absolutely do not doubt.
Thank you very much for your perspective on this issue. I would like to call upon the gentleman from the Bisan Center. I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Ubay Aboudi. I'm the director of Bisan Center. My colleagues actually explained things very well, but I just want to stress on the use of the word genocide. From the beginning, from Saturday, we as Palestinians felt it was different. And activists actually started using genocide. The legal organizations such as Al-Haq, Al-Mizan, and the Palestinian Center for Human Rights, those three are like the most prominent. They do the legal research, everything. Yesterday issued a statement describing this as the crime of genocide. The crime of genocide, it has intent. The intent has been spoken by the Israeli officials. It doesn't need to entail the killing of all the people, but one aspect of it, according to the international protocols, is the destruction of the Palestinian people. And this is what's happening right now, a destruction of the group, the Palestinian people as a collective. So please, when you raise your voice, put this term directly. This is genocide. Silence on genocide is complicity in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is very important to make this clear. Ayman, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I don't know what to say actually. Thanks for every one of you. And thanks for the People Health Movement to organize such, not a discussion, maybe a debriefing, because I think there is no word to describe what's going on. It's beyond words, it's beyond discussions. It's sometimes we find ourselves speechless. In addition to what have been just said by Dr. Mustafa and Ubay and Hani. And I'm not going to repeat what Dr. Mustafa mentioned in the beginning of this chat, but I want to just emphasize and reiterate again and focus on this very important point. It's about the adoption of the Israeli narrative from the international community. And immediately, as Dr. Mustafa said, the second day, the Biden administration declared unlimited support for the Israeli government without even seeing the truth. I don't know what's going on actually. It's about just saying the truth. You know, I want to be very brief and concise and short. We don't need coffins from the international community, because the United States is sending bombs and weapons, and Europe is sending us the coffins after our death. This is the story in short. We don't need coffins. We need just to reflect the facts as it is. You know, it's there. Everything is there. You can see in the media, in front of the cameras, etc., etc. What is hurting us as Palestinians is immediately they are adopting the Israeli narrative and the Israeli story and the Israeli reflections. What happened there is just was behind the cameras. We don't know actually what will happen. And yesterday it was disseminated through the media what happened with the Israeli kids actually. They were playing with them actually and feeding them even. Not decapitated them. This word is a big shame. Decapitated. What about those babies in Gaza now who are being slaughtered by the Israeli airplanes. I'd buy the F-16 and buy F-35. This is the story. What is important for me actually is, and what is needed, and I hope that you will reflect this as People Health Movement, is just reflect the truth as it is on the ground. What is going on is beyond the speeches, is beyond solidarity, is beyond even the human mind. I don't know who is the administrator for this, and excuse me if I may share with you just one picture, and then I leave everything for you, just to see what's going on. Just one picture to see the decapitation of the Palestinians by the Israeli army. This is, I want to conclude, because really I am, you know, I got 10 years older during this week. 10 years older. We are all mentally unstable now. Okay, we have been experiencing the resilience, and we will experience the resilience until having a country to live in, not to in a country to die in. What's going on is just reflecting the deep root causes of this crisis. It's the longest crisis over the history. I know there are a lot of stories, a lot, tens of thousands of stories in Gaza. Now, again, I am kindly request from the administrator to share my screen with one picture only.
You can share your screen right now.
You can see this?
Yes.
This is what we have now. This is the real decapitation of our children and infants inside their mother's uterus. This is the decapitation, not Biden decapitation. This is the truth. This should be disseminated and published broadly in Europe, just to see the truth, to know who is decapitating who. This is happening in front of the cameras, not behind the cameras, in front of the cameras. It's not out of the reach of the cameras. It's within the reach of the cameras. This is the truth. This happened 2 days ago in Gaza. I don't want to talk about the international humanitarian law and the international law, because I know it's useless, because Israel is out of control of the international law and international humanitarian law. And who is accountable for this? Who is responsible for this? Who is responsible? Did Biden administration saw this picture? Of course, no. They don't want to know. They don't want to know. This is the truth. I have no words. I have no words to talk. This is what's happening in Gaza, and this is only the tip of the iceberg. This is, believe me, this is the tip of the iceberg. Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to get back to you. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to see images like this, and really respect your sorrow at what's happening to your people. Thank you very much for your testimony. Okay, I want to go back to I need to get back to the...
Stop sharing, please, Ayman.
I stopped it already.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Are there other people on the panel that wish to say something? Stenia, could you speak? We have not heard from a woman, and I think it would be important to do so. And then I'll call up Belgasam.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Hani, Roman, everybody. Really, we're so saddened and really in Lebanon we are witnessing things on the border, but really what's happening in Gaza is something really beyond description. Really, our heart and solidarity is with Gaza. It's the cause of many, and it's the only cause of justice that really needs to be addressed to lift back this balance of double standards that we have been witnessing for long. Respect to the resistance that was conducted, but this should be complemented by implementation of human rights and really lifting the siege forward. As the Amal Association would like to suggest to PHM, if this is something that is of interest to all, to really launch a statement where we put down the solidarity and respect to the Palestinian people for solidarity and request to implement international law and respect for the freedoms and to end this ethnic cleansing and crime of genocide, and to collectively, as a suggestion, to start an appeal to gather funds and see our Palestinian comrades here, how we can really channel efforts to try to support in any way possible, and really push the international community, the International Red Cross, to enter and start supporting from humanitarian aspect, the medical, food, non-food items, and everything at all levels. I don't want to take much time. I think we're all speechless in front of what's happening, but let's see what can be done from our end as a collective force for humanity and rights and respect, and see what we can do together to act and try to address in any way. Thank you.
And thank you. Belgasan?
Yes. Thank you, Maria, and hello to everybody. And thanks to PHM for this timely initiative. We are all getting older with what is happening actually in Palestine. And I would like to thank our Palestinian colleagues for updating us on some of the sad events. And we hope that the picture which was shared by Ayman could find its way in the international media, the social media, which unfortunately are spreading the lies of the Israeli media and the Israeli leaders and the American leaders as well, and Western leaders as well. Having said that, we feel very proud of the determination of the Palestinian people and the Palestinian resistance. And we feel also proud of their human attitude towards the prisoners, unlike what they are spreading in the media. And here I would like that the Palestinian friends and comrades could help in sharing videos or pictures like the one shared by Ayman. And I have seen one of them actually this morning, one video. On the way, the Palestinian resistance were treating some families in one of the kibbutzim and caring for the children and not decapitating them. So we'd like this to be on the web as well, if possible. But we are really also concerned about the extremely horrible scenario Dr. Mustafa Barghouti was talking about, the scenarios of the second Nakba and the scenario of the transfer to Egypt and to Jordan to ethnically cleans up the whole Palestine to be in line with the photo shared by Netanyahu in the UN Assembly. And here I would like to see how horrible is this mutism and silence of the international community in face of these people. What makes us concerned is also the reaction of the American UN Foreign Secretary Blinken yesterday when he was traveling and telling the Arab leaders that if any humanitarian corridor is to be there. It will be for the hostages, meaning the Western hostages, and for the people of Gaza who wants to go to Egypt. So this is really extremely worrying on this scenario. When we look at the Armada actually brought by the US and also today by the British, and of course they will be joined by Germany and by many other countries. So in front of this, I would like really to say that we need to speak, to talk, or to share some of the country response in our region. And I would like to share with you some of the elements of a response from Tunisia, which could hopefully be useful for other countries as well. The elements of response were of three natures. The first one was to get into the streets and to mobilize politically, socially, to use the media, and to use the sport events where sportsmen were supporting the Palestinian people. We have seen this in Egypt as well. And these are extremely important. I mean, this political and social, let's say, mobilization is important for the second part of activities which we are planning to do, which is about mobilizing financial resources to support the Palestinian people. We have already started, and yesterday there was a very interesting initiative carried out by one of the Tunisian TV channel and Algerian TV channel. They joined their effort. Tunisia and Algeria were siding with the Palestinian people to do a telethon, which gathered authorities in politics, in intellectuals, in media, in cinema, in theater. And all these people were used actually to try to reach out to the Tunisian and Algerian people through several media to collect what will be needed if a humanitarian corridor is to be opened to support the Palestinian people in Gaza. At the same time, most of the orders of physicians, nurses, etc., are also opening series of calls to volunteers if there will be teams going to help and to support the Palestinian health workers in Gaza or in some of the field hospitals outside Gaza in the humanitarian corridors. So these are important actually to prepare, but also the Tunisian government and the Ministry of Health has already prepared several hospitals to eventually treat patients if they are to be taken outside Gaza to be treated outside. So these are extremely important to highlight the role of the health and social teams. But the third element of our response, and which happens to be the most difficult one, is how to reverse the lies in the media, in the international media, and how to keep at least some of the Western countries who keep giving us lessons on human rights and violation, etc., whereby in France, the country of the revolution, the president is forbidding any demonstration to support the Palestinian people. People are being actually arrested. and they can go for 6 months jail simply because they raise the Palestinian drapeau flag and they speak with their colleagues, the French colleagues or other colleagues, about supporting Palestine. So this phenomenon actually, which is quite worrying because we do have a big Tunisian community and we do have a big Arab communities actually in France, about 5 million. And these are forbidding to show their solidarity for the Palestinian people. So how can we reverse? And this is an appeal to our friends and comrades in the West, how they can reach out to their own media with the elements of media which we can collect on the atrocities of the Israeli soldiers to try to reverse this series of lies spread out actually in the Western media. So these are some of the elements which actually the civil societies in Tunisia, the national trade union, the progressive parties are actually coordinating their efforts to prepare the response and to wait, of course, as long as the things are evolving on if the humanitarian corridor will be open, that at least we can be partly ready. And thank you again for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Belgasan. Manuel, I would like you to please put Ilham on the panel so she can speak.
إلهام لو سمحتي اقبلي الرسالة اللي هتجيلك من ميجال. شكرا إلهام.
Dan, she will be joining us in just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
I think you can find her as a panelist.
Maybe David till she joins.
Oh, okay, thank you. David, would you please speak?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I will just quickly go because in 5 minutes I have to leave. I'm very sorry for this. Then
Okay,
Ilham,
please.
is that okay with you?
Go
Because
ahead,
I think,
go ahead.
yeah, I hope you can understand me quite good. I think Belgassen made a very good intervention because the question is, what can we do? And that's a very important question. And to give an example for it, in Belgium, because I'm a Belgian person living in Bolivia, what we did is we also reached out to political parties, especially of the left, of course, the trade unions also. And what we are focusing on is trying to change the narrative. Because in the beginning, what we saw in the Belgian context, that the narrative was very much about Hamas, about terrorists, about decapitating babies and stuff. But this has changed. Even in the center political parties, we changed the narrative towards Gaza and the humanitarian needs and the disproportional violence and stuff. So this is something that we did in Belgium, just to give an example, which is working pretty fine. But also the other question is, so as PHM, as a People's Health Movement, I think it's often difficult. Sometimes we feel a bit helpless because we can't send any goods. So that's why, as Viva Salud, which is also the fiscal host and a member and an affiliate of the People's Health Movement, what we did is we reached out to Ouda, which is like a health organization in Ouda. They have 6 health centers. They have 2 hospitals, one in the north, in Jabalia. And for example, yesterday we got a communication from Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, that Israel sent an evacuation order that they had to leave the hospital in 2 hours. So what we did then is we immediately responded. We sent out messages to the Cabinet of Development Cooperation. We said this is not possible because this is a partner of the Belgian Development Cooperation. Israel is threatening them, and they have, like, I think 35 medical staff. They have patients, 80 beds. It's completely flooded. They also have a maternity. That's very important. So evacuating this in the current situation in Gaza, it's completely impossible, and it's a war crime, really. And now I mentioned this because Auda is also like the focus of our campaign, because we started the campaign last Sunday, one day after the one day into the war, let's say, and this campaign focuses on fundraising. And I know it's a bit silly because fundraising is just money, but at the it's quite difficult, because what they asked is we need medical supplies, we need medical medicines and stuff, but of course we can't get it into Gaza. And then the second best option was money, because in the end Auda will have to rebuild the hospital in Jabalia. It was attacked, it's partly destroyed. They will have to buy medicines at one point. So what we are now doing is we're focusing on fundraising, which is going very well, which is also for me the proof that the people stand with Gaza, that the people understand that this is not about terrorism of Hamas, this is about a much bigger context of apartheid. So I feel also in Belgium or internationally that this is working very well. For now, we have more than 30,000 euros that we collected just by private donors, people like everybody else, just supporting. So maybe this is also a call for everybody to keep on to keep on sharing this campaign in your networks. And maybe I will just show the flyer so you can see the flyer that we made. I don't know if I can share my screen. I will share my screen very quickly. So this is a flyer that we made that is now circulating on social media. I don't know if you can see it. I think so. So we have the flyer in Spanish, we have it also in French, we have it in Dutch, we have it in English. With this QR code, people go to a payment, to a website where people can pay with a credit card. So here below, we can see it's a People's Health Movement and Viva Salud and Auda campaign. Of course, this is 100% for Auda, and Viva Salud and People's Health Movement are just like supporting this campaign broadly. So I think this is a bit of a call to everybody, because we feel helpless sometimes, but this is something that we can do. So share it around, especially in certain regions. For example, in Europe, it's going pretty well. But for example, in the US, in Asia, it's going a bit slower. So that's why also in Latin America, we can still make some progress. So that's it. I'm sure Miguel, and afterwards we can send out an email with a recording with the links to the website, to the flyers and stuff that you can share on social media. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, David. Now I would like to call on I can't see here. I would like to call on the compañera.
You, Hani, call the comrade that is going to talk, to speak.
Elham, you can speak now.
Okay.
Yes.
مساء الخير. إن ما يحدث في غزة هو إبادة جماعية بمباركة دولية. نحن نتابع عن كثب ونتألم كثيرا لما يحدث في غزة، ونتساءل هنا ماذا يمكننا أن نعمل لنساعد.
We're wondering what can we do to help stop this genocide. We are in Aden. We tried over the last few days to demonstrate, and we're planning over the next few days through several initiatives and demonstrations in support to Gaza, but we are still wondering, what can we do to stop this genocide, which is happening in front of the whole world and with its blessing. The Israeli occupation has managed to convince several governments to stop and ban any demonstrations in support with Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you, Elham. Now I would like to call on Vivi Camacho and then Andreas. We need to put Andreas on the panel. Vivi?
you so much, dear comrades. Greet from Bolivia, all the solidarity. We have been following all the news. I do remember that in 2012, when we were in South Africa with our comrades from Palestinian Medical Relief, it was such horrible situation, but now it's even worse. And we feel your pain as our pain. We feel your brothers and sisters and mothers and daughters and sons as our own. You must know that you and us are the same people. All the solidarity from Bolivia. We are struggling, doing campaigns. We are promoting. I am part of indigenous network communication. We are promoting this solidarity for Palestine, and we are promoting whatever our People's Health Movement is promoting inside the networks. So please feel our embrace. Please feel that you are not alone. As Bolivia, we are defeating. We are working against the colonization, working towards decolonization. That's what you are struggling for, and we are together. Be strong. I know that everything's painful now, but we are one people, one humanity for dignity. And you, Palestine and Bolivia, we are one people together, just to share this solidarity with you and know that our indigenous comrades are also having message of solidarity from different places here in Latin America. Greetings, big, big hugs, all of our love with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vivi. Gracias, Vivi. Andres?
Yes, I try to switch off my mobile. Good afternoon. Yeah, I also want to express our deep sorrow, deep horror about what's happening at the moment in Palestine. And I think, as you can understand, and you might imagine that we are in a particular difficult situation in Germany. You might have seen that our foreign minister has been in Israel just yesterday. I think today she might be in Egypt already, and has given unconditional support to the Israeli government in this situation. And of course, also the media discourse in Germany is very much sided towards support for Palestine. We have also, like Dr. Bergasem already said, we also have prohibitions of pro-Palestinian rallies in Germany at the moment. What I feel, however, is that it is necessary if we, and I think it's important to, there's a People's Health Movement to be a very clear statement centered in the right to health and also for all, and the center, as Maria said in the beginning, on the People's Health Charter. What I find is important to understand also the current dynamic and situation is, of course, that this is what happened. That did not start with the onslaught on Gaza by the Israeli army, but it did start with the attacks of Hamas, and which killed an unprecedented number of most of them Israeli civilians. And it is, of course, important to reject any fake news about atrocities that happened. But nevertheless, atrocities did happen, and there were deliberate attacks on civilians in the music festival, for example, and also the abduction of civilians into Gaza as hostages is something that need to be condemned as war crimes. So the direct targeting of civilians is something that is not allowed. And I would also suggest this is also not something that should be seen as a liberation struggle. How much the pictures, of course, of breaking down the walls of Gaza is something very encouraging for Palestinians all over the world. But I think we need, with all our clear condemnation of any war crimes that happen, that it's necessary to really go to as many of the previous speakers have said, of course, have to go to the political dynamics and also see how it is possible to raise the support for Palestinians beyond the traditional allies. And the problem is, of course, that the traditional allies have been shrinking. There are Arab states who are not unconditional in their support any longer. There are a lot of Arabs, also African states, who has started to also being much more closer to the Israeli government. So these all had to be captured in a, I feel, in a response that the People's Health Movement has to raise. That's what I want to say. Saying, of course, that Medical International is very close at the moment with our Palestinian partners and see how we can support their work, which is, of course, extremely difficult. And we hope that we can also increase our media coverage, basically mainly in German. We did interviews at the moment also with the Physicians for Human Rights in Israel, which I suggest would be an excellent partner for the People's Health Movement in any such statements, because they, and you might have seen this on their websites, they have very clear condemnation of the work of the policy of the Israeli government at the moment. And it would be very good to reach out to these voices within the Israeli society, so to make clear that this is a political conflict, that it's about apartheid. It is not about a fight between two peoples, but rather a fight for also a perspective for all people in the territories of Israel and Palestine. Thank you from my side.
Thank you, Andreas. Very well said. The Bisan Center, please.
Just an issue on the human rights aspect of it. Okay. I think one of the most important things is the importance of having, what do you call it? International teams to also investigate human rights violations, because we had so much propaganda and so much lies about what happened and what didn't happen. And this has been asked by Palestinians so many times, and Israelis are blocking it. So even as human rights organizations in Palestine, what we say is that the Commission of Inquiry, which has jurisdiction to investigate all human rights violations, whether it was in Israel or in Gaza or in the West Bank, should be allowed to come, do its investigation, and issue its report on every human rights violation that happened. And I think this is the way forward, because one of the most important things is that we stand with human rights, we stand with international law, but international law has failed us until now and is failing us, and now it has led to the genocide of the Palestinian, or the attempt of genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza at this moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Are there other contributions from the people on our panel from the Middle East? Hani, would you like to speak, please?
Belgasem raises.
Oh, I see that now. Belgasem, go ahead, please.
Just on the issue of the European Union, which actually is extremely supportive to the Israeli genocide. And just I would like to ask David and the friends and comrades who are in Belgium and the colleagues in Athens and others, I mean, if they can reach out to their representative inside the European Union Parliament, just to express their concern about the attitude of the European Union, not only inciting with the Israeli occupiers and the genocide, but also in trying to cut all the financial support to the Palestinian people, I mean, in terms of social and economic activities inside Palestine. And some of the NGOs actually funded and supported throughout this kind of support. So we really need their efforts, I mean, to stand with the Palestinian people by asking their representatives, by asking the European Union, by speaking out in the media, that the attitude of the European Union, both politically but also in terms of social and financial support, is unacceptable by all means. Thank you.
Thank you, Bogassam. And that's something that our friends from the European PHM can follow up on. Hani, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Maria, and thanks to all our comrades from Palestine for the brief and for everybody spoke in this webinar. So just to emphasize that we are in a time when most of Arab countries, if not all, are busy with their own business, and they provide the weakest support ever to Palestine. And especially after defeated Arab Spring and the rise of new dictatorships in the region, most of them are seeking legitimacy from the West, and they found that the way is to neutralize with Israel. So unfortunately, we do not expect any support from the Arab region to the current situation in Palestine. And I even expect the opposite. I hope this scenario will not happen. I hope that what Dr. Mustafa and Dr. Belgasim talked about will not happen through Egypt. I hope that Egypt will shy away from getting into this and help the plan of Israel. But I will not be surprised if it happens. So just to try to summarize some of the actions that people suggested, here it started with Lima put in the chat that we may try proactively to collect data, organize data, to go for international court for the war crime. This is, I hope that we have more sense from our comrades in Palestine about that. I know how difficult it is, and it's very politicized as well. It's not just a court, but this is one of the suggestions. We need to take it quite seriously. Zena suggested that we start a statement. This was also supported by other people, Belgasim, Andreas, and others. And I would call for Amil in Lebanon and our comrades from the region, and of course our comrades from Palestine, to work on a draft. And maybe Amil can organize a small group from the region and from Palestine to start a draft and to send it for our steering council of PHM to make any comments, and then we can publish it. Also, the idea of the media, which is started by Belgasim, I think it is very important how to change the image in the media. And I do not have a good suggestion for that, but maybe if we have any pictures, any reports, and so on, they are very much welcome to be sent to the PHM Secretariat, and they will be on the website. So I call upon our Secretariat to open a space on our PHM website in different languages to have any reports or images or whatever to change that, but also to use the social media proactively to promote the reality against the lies we're seeing. David talked about fundraising, and this is a campaign that's supported by PHM. So I hope that everybody is using this opportunity for the campaign. This is the least we can do. And Bilgasim talked about rallies. And of course, whenever possible, I know how difficult it is in the Arab region under the current dictatorships. But whenever it's possible, this would be great to have protests and to have rallies. And just to let you know that today there is a protest in Houston. So even in a country like the US, there are still pockets of resistance. So this is great. So we talked about the statement, changing the image in the media, trial, the international court, fundraising, and the rallies. This is what I heard from the meeting today. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. And I see Alexis, and yeah.
Sí.
Thank you very much.
Alexis. Alexis, go ahead.
Yes. I thought it was finished because you said thank you. Okay. Just I wanted to, first of all, to reply to Belkacem because it's very important, speaking from a European country. I mean, unfortunately, as you know, obviously, the situation, the political situation in Europe is going from the worst to worse, okay? Right-wing governments all over the place. And I think, and obviously, of course, the institution of the Union, European Union, is a colonial institution by birth. I mean, it is. This is the. So we don't have any, even not even thoughts or hopes to intervene or to trade. Our government here, for example, I don't know if you know, the Greek government sent already one military boat towards Palestine. So they are with the American fleet there. So we don't have any hope for that. On the other side, I think we have a good up to now. And regarding all the campaign, the media campaign against the Palestinian people, we have a very quite nice, I think, reactions from European peoples in the streets, actually. And this is the idea. I mean, I think we have to raise and make much more important the movement on the streets and possibly coordinate that. I mean, make a one day, special day, for example, all over the world that we can go up outside, as we did for the Iraqi war, you remember, all this stuff. So I think this is the idea. And of course, the idea is to don't give importance to the lies and all the issue. The whole issue, I think, as it was said, and it's very important, it's coming from 70 years old. So we cannot speak about the Palestinian issue if we don't speak about the colonialism, okay, and the beginning of the ethnic cleansing from then up to now. So the Palestinian people is the people who is taking this offensive against them. So we are with them and we want to fight with them. Thanks.
Thank you, Alexis. There's a hand raised here. Elias?
Thank you. Dear comrades, dear friends, dear colleagues, I think that we need to be quite honest that most European left-wing movements, most European peace movements, health movements, are under enormous pressure in order for us to condemn Hamas and the brutalities it has caused. But we need to reflect honestly, and I'm referring to our European colleagues and European friends. We need to reflect on this very carefully. What will happen if you squeeze and imprison 2.5 million people in 300 360 square kilometers, a space equal to Naxos Island in the Aegean. What will happen if you deprive these 2.5 million people from electricity, foods? Kill one of them every day. More than 250 people, as Dr. Mustafa was saying, were killed before the Hamas attacks a few days ago. What will happen if you imprison every day hundreds of Palestinians, more than 50% of which are imprisoned without even a trial? What will happen under these conditions? There will be an explosion. So there is a lot of pressure on left-wing movements, health movements, peace movements in Europe for us to condemn the explosion. They ask us to condemn the explosion and in this way to equate the oppressor with the victim, the abuser with the abused, the occupant with the occupied. And we need to be clear, comrades and colleagues. Historically, the peace movement, the health movements, has taken the position of the suppressed and not the suppressor. Equating, moving from this historical position will tear us apart. We need to take a clear position, the right position, by demonstrating our unconditional solidarity to the Palestinian people. And the Greek movement in Greece, the trade union movement in Greece, the health movement in Greece has already taken this right position. Our solidarity to the Palestinian colleagues and friends. A lot of work needs to be done from our side, especially in Europe and in North America.
Thank you very much, Elias. Roman?
If I think we can hear Belkacem again first, and I will close
Oh,
at the
I
end. I
didn't
think
see
the
him.
meeting is going to an end.
Okay, Belkacem.
Sorry. Sorry to come back because, and I would like also to thank the two Elias, I mean, from Athens. I think we are very proud of your excellent and nice feelings, I mean, towards the Palestinian people. My point, Elias, is about David living in Belgium and reaching out the European Union, let's say, headquarters. I mean, just trying to show solidarity and demonstrate the concerns about the attitude of the European Union. I mean, politically, I am totally agree with you that it is dominated by the right and the right wing, actually, policy. But at least on the social and humanitarian support provided so far by the European Union, it's very important that something has to be done to avoid this extremely nasty attitude of finishing or ending this support, which actually belongs to the European people, not to the people in Belgium. I just want to add one piece of information. We just received an information from Zahira, Morocco, saying that they are negotiating the possibility of having 5-hour ceasefire to have humanitarian corridor, eventually to bring some, let's say, support to the Palestinian people. And that's why it's important to be ready, I mean, to do a preparedness in terms of the humanitarian work, in terms of collecting supplies and equipment and medicines, etc. And eventually, if it will be allowed, I mean, that to have health teams. So I would like this to be added to the action points which should appear in our memo. And thank you.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes,
Thank
there
you
is
very much.
Alvaro's raising hand. Alvaro, please accept the message from Miguel. Alvaro?
Alvaro, oiga.
Who is Alvaro? Wait. Álvaro. Yeah.
Adelante,
Álvaro from Colombia.
Gracias. Un abrazo para todas y todos.
Thank you. A big hug to all of you, and especially to the comrades in Palestine and the Middle East. I talk to you from Colombia, a country that is also facing or has been facing a war since 1948, and we know all too well the pain, but also the resilience that people have to keep on struggling despite the pain. I wanted to propose the following. In whatever reactions we have, let's use the expressions Jimmy Carter, president from the US, has said from Camp David accords between Egypt and Israel in the 70s. In different moments, he expressed the fact that from the Western community and Israel, there has to be support for peace instead of apartheid. I think that's important because he's a former US president that he buys the narrative of the West, but it would be a breaking point that might be interesting. Big hugs.
Gracias. Thank you, Alvaro. Before I call on Roman again, I just want to say we just have a few more minutes, and I want to thank all of the people who participated in the panel and made their commentaries. And I want to thank the people who have connected today. We will make sure that all the materials, the websites that have been cited in the webinar chat, all of this will be available to you through the People's Health Movement website. Roman, please.
Gracias, María. Voy a hablar en español.
Okay.
Thank you,
Gracias,
Maria. I will
María.
be speaking in Spanish.
Gracias, Hani.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you,
por,
Hani, for summarizing the most important point of the contributions we have had today by the comrades in this meeting. I would like to highlight one of these points, which I think is important, which will be part of the commitment of the People's Health Movement in solidarity with the Palestine people. I'm referring to the fact that our solidarity is strong and clear. We have no different criteria from that of supporting the struggle for the liberation and emancipation and freedom of the Palestine people. I think we have to highlight this in every possible space where the PHM is going to express itself. But I would like to also highlight the need to pronounce ourselves publicly and to condense in that statement several of the suggestions that were made today in the meeting. I think Hani and Anna from the circle of war and conflict and occupation, we should create a small group of comrades who can gather the suggestions, who dialogue with our comrades from Middle East and particularly from Palestine, and to issue a statement soon urging the peoples of the world to be solidary with Palestine, to all health movements from different countries to support the Palestinian cause and to face the narrative of the Western media and the alliance of big Western powers against the freedom. I want to say we are to support democratic, popular, and progressive governments. For example, Gustavo Petro, president of Colombia, was very emphatic when underpinning the solidarity of Colombian people with the Palestine struggle. Despite pressure from right-wing parties in Colombia and the US administration that was opposed to that solidarity position from Colombia. I want to say that not only a government as Petro's, but also other progressive governments of Latin America can join efforts, particularly when the government in Brazil is chair of the Security Council of the United Nations. I think we have to surround the Brazilian government, show them the awful episodes that are taking place in the Palestine territory and in Gaza in particular. We have to show them the circumstances that are taking place of the violation of humanitarian international law, and so that the Brazilian government feels that their chairmanship in the Security Council in the United Nations can have the support of democratic, left-wing, progressive governments, but also from social movements. They can have the support of social movements. I think People's Health Movement can urge social movements and rally them, movements of workers and peasants, which will have their 8th conference in December in Bogota, Colombia. All of these organizations who express their class solidarity, gender, anti-patriarchal solidarity, ethnic solidarity, all the peoples who are struggling for fundamental rights, united in solidarity with the Palestine cause. We could have a shift towards that, to looking for an ally and breach the media narrative pro-Israel. It is the empire leading the ethnic cleansing of the Palestine people. That is my urge. I think this meeting has been really important for the People's Health Movement, but we need to go beyond and to reach people's sensitivity, people who think that human dignity has to be over particular interests of any power globally. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Hani. Thank you, everyone who has been here today.
Yeah, there are two people raise his hand, Patricia and Ricardo. Miguel, if you
Hay
can.
dos personas más, Patricia.
Patricia y Ricardo quieren hablar.
Yeah, Patricia, can you accept the message from Miguel and Ricardo as well? All right, can you try to talk, Patricia? You're muted, Patricia.
Patricia has an open mic. She can speak now.
You are muted, Patricia. Can you open your mic and talk? Can we start with Ricardo till she?
Hola, ¿me escuchan?
Hable Ricardo, mientras.
Hello, can you hear me? Thank you, Maria. I just want to briefly add to the conclusions that has come from this important analysis of the conflict taking place at this time in Gaza, because of the brutal criminal attack of the Israeli government against our Palestine brothers. The main problem is the lack of knowledge of the million people of what is really going on in Gaza. We have to be able to finish with all the disinformation, all the fake news being spread by the media that favors the powerful countries and that favors Israel. Here in the Andina region and in our respective countries, Argentina, Venezuela, Peru, we will do our best and make a great effort to be able to take to the streets to express our support to Palestine, to demand a stop to the genocide, to the bloodshed. A big hug that encapsulates our huge affection to our Palestinian brothers and our strong desire for them to be able to resist. And we are sure that they will be able to resist this genocide, this attack. They will be victorious, being backed by the people of all the world. Thank you for letting me intervene.
Patricia, can you speak now? Adelante, Patricia.
You're muted, Patricia. If you can open your mic. Right. I think there is a technical issue, Maria. We cannot get her to.
Okay. Fine, Hani. Would you please close the meeting then? And we want to thank especially our interpreters who were with us today, who made this available to so many people in different parts of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria. I echo what you said about the interpreters who accepted to do this at a very, very short notice. We're very grateful for that. And would like specifically to thank the Secretariat also to organize this in a very short time, especially Miguel, who made a great effort today and yesterday, and for participants who stayed for 2 hours. And what we can promise that all of these suggestions, all of these action points, we are going to take them forward and work on them immediately. So thank you very much. The recording of this webinar will be available in English, and it will be on our website soon. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. Goodbye now, everybody. Viva el pueblo palestino.
Viva el pueblo palestino. Viva, viva.
Fuerza Palestina.
Viva Palestina.
Fuerza Palestina.
Right. Bye now, everybody.